The narrow way. Matthew chapter 7, verses 13 and 14, New King James Version. Enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and there are many who go in by it. Because narrow is the gate, and difficult is the way which leads to life, and there are few who find it. Here Jesus gives a parable about life and death. He urges his disciples to seek life by entering through the narrow gate that runs counter to the way of the world. The way of the world is commonly traveled, but its end is destruction and ruin. After refining his teachings concerning human interactions into a single ethical command to treat people the same way you want them to treat you, Jesus refines his message concerning his kingdom into a simple invitation: enter through the narrow gate. His invitation is framed within a short parable. The parable describes two gates, the wide gate and the small gate. Two ways, the broad way and the narrow way. Two destinations, destruction and life, and two groups of people, the many and the few. Jesus counsels his disciples to enter through the narrow gate before describing the way, destination, and group of people associated with the wide gate. For the gate is wide and the way is broad that leads to destruction, and there are many who enter through it. Both the gate and the way leading to destruction are described in similar terms, wide and broad. Both adjectives suggest that the gate and the way accommodate many people who enter through the gate and travel upon its path. Broad roads accommodate a lot of traffic and are easier to navigate, so they have greater appeal to travelers. Contrast this with how Jesus describes the narrow gate. For the gate is small and the way is narrow that leads to life, and there are few who find it. The small gate and narrow way appear not only to be less appealing and more difficult to navigate, they also seem hard to find. What does this parable mean? A gate is a point of access that allows people to enter a path that leads to a definite area, such as a city, a palace, or a temple. In this parable, the gates represent choices that we make every day. The choices are between two kingdoms. Every day, we decide which kingdom we seek. Are we going to seek the Messiah's kingdom and harmony with him, his kingdom, and his righteousness? Or are we going to seek the world's kingdom and harmony with them? Once again, Jesus is highlighting the reality that God has granted to humans the amazing gift of moral decision. We decide who we trust, what perspective we adopt, and what actions we take. The Messiah's kingdom is found by taking the narrow way, that is accessed through the gate that is small. This is not the automatic or easy choice. The parable makes it clear that this way will not appear attractive on the surface. The Messiah's kingdom is not of this world, so it is not physically visible. It requires eyes of faith to recognize it, to see its tiny gate. It takes faith to enter it. The wide gate is more appealing to the eye and has far more travelers. The tiny gate must be deliberately sought after and chosen if we are to find it and enter it. The kingdoms of the world are found through the gate that is wide. The gates do not represent a once and for all decision. Jesus will later tell his disciples to daily take up their cross and follow him. Luke chapter 9, verse 23. Following Jesus is a choice we must make hour by hour, and every decision we make is an entrance leading to destruction or leading to life. Luke chapter 9, verse 23, New King James Version. Then Jesus said to them all, "If anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me." The way into his kingdom is a life of righteousness which comes through obedience to the principles of the kingdom of God. Its entrance is determined by our attitudes and actions. In other words, Jesus has been teaching throughout this entire sermon that whether or not we enter his kingdom, each day is based upon our daily choices and actions. Does our way of living today align with the kingdoms of this world or with the Messiah's kingdom? Do we have hatred or lust in our hearts this moment? Do we deal treacherously with others even as we claim the moral high ground this day? Are we merciful or judgmental at this time? Do we seek approval from men or from God in all of our decisions? Do we treat others with love as we want them to treat us today? Or do we have a double standard, demanding their love for us as we withhold our love from them? Does our behavior follow the pattern Jesus taught and the example he gave? Or does it mirror the lousy way of this world? How we live determines which gate we are choosing, which way we are traveling, and which destination we will reach and inhabit. It also determines whether we are of the many or the few. Just because we decide to enter the small gate today and travel its narrow way does not mean that we will do the same tomorrow. There are only two possible consequences for each attitude and action. Any decision we make either brings destruction or life. If we decide as the world does and enter by its gate and follow its way, we will live a self-centered life, following our appetites, and reap the reward of destruction. Throughout Jesus' sermon, he has been discussing our works of righteousness as well as our attitude and behavior. He has been talking about our moral works. He has emphasized the agencies of choice each person has. He has brought up many times the opportunity to gain rewards from God by acting in faith, or lose God's rewards by seeking the reward of the world. If Jesus' followers go along with the way of the world and enter by its gate, they become saltless and worthless to his kingdom. Matthew chapter 5, verse 13. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? It is then good for nothing, but to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by men. This results in spiritual waste. They throw away their chances to inherit or possess their royal destiny in exchange for pursuing the empty and vaporous ambitions of the world. They miss the chance to gain intimacy with Christ as King in this life through living by faith and the immense rewards that it brings. Matthew chapter 5, verses 3 and verse 11. Verse 3, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Verse 11, Blessed are you when they revile and persecute you and say all kinds of evil against you falsely for my sake. And they miss the chance to be called great when the Messiah's kingdom is fully established. Matthew chapter 5, verse 19. Whoever therefore breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches men so shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does and teaches them shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. These aspects of destruction are tragic. Fortunately, this waste is avoidable through obedience. Sadly, many enter through the gate that is wide. Many find destruction. Many settle for harmony with the world and its righteousness. To fit the context, this would include many believers. In 2 John chapter 1, verse 8, the apostle exhorts his disciples to look to themselves and make choices that will lead to a full reward. Look to yourselves, that we do not lose those things we worked for, but that we may receive a full reward. Jesus admonishes us to make every effort to enter through the narrow gate. Paul echoes this reality in many of his writings. For example, in 2 Timothy, the epistle he wrote shortly before being martyred, Paul emphasized the importance of finishing what we began in order to receive the crown laid up for us in heaven. We need to be diligent and strive to faithfully walk in obedience to Christ. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 9, New King James Version. But as it is written, eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, nor have entered into the heart of man the things which God has prepared for those who love him. Thank you, and God bless you.